Is a growing movement called the New World Order a sign that the end times are upon us? Hi, this is Dr. Michael Bogart with Aspect Ministries and the Unexpected Bible YouTube channel. I hope that you'll take just a moment to subscribe to this channel and watch several of our videos. We need subscriptions to help us get our message out. Thanks in advance. If you read the book of Revelation and other passages in the New Testament that talk about the end times, you get an idea of how this present age of the world will end. Christians, of course, disagree about the timing and details, but the big picture is that the present age of the world will end when the world is united under a one-world government led by someone called the Antichrist. At first, this global government will produce prosperity and peace. However, it will soon degenerate into a bloodbath in which believers in Jesus are severely persecuted, and war, famine, natural disaster, and disease will take the lives of untold millions. After unprecedented wickedness and misery, Jesus will return to judge evildoers and establish an era of peace. Okay, so with this big picture in mind, are there any signs that such a one-world government is on the horizon? Possibly. Some people think that a movement called the New World Order might be the beginnings of such a one-world government. In the past, this movement has gone mostly unnoticed, but in recent years it has come much more into the open with its aims and influence. What is the New World Order? Well, when searching the internet for information on it, one of the first articles you're likely to come across is from Wikipedia. The article is entitled New World Order Conspiracy Theory. So right off the bat, Wikipedia is telling you that the whole idea is absurd, that a group of wealthy and influential people are working to gain control over the world. Such an idea, of course, is false, extreme, and even dangerous. Yet if you read the entire article, you might come away with the feeling that there might actually be something to this so-called conspiracy theory. The article does a great job of showing how the term has been used since the phrase was coined in the early 20th century by Woodrow Wilson and used also by Winston Churchill. And it assures us that the term New World Order, as it has been used since then, is completely positive and should not be thought of as threatening in any way. But then the article goes on to actually support the idea that it has just assured us is completely false. According to Wikipedia, for some time, under different names and organizations, there has been a relatively small group of leaders and experts who have used the term New World Order. However, they simply use it to discuss how they will organize governments and their agencies and industry to solve international problems. Here's a quote from a speech given by Pakistani Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari at a recent World Economic Forum meeting in Davos, Switzerland. He says, "Here at the World Economic Forum, there's a lot of discussion about what the New World Order will be, or how do we work towards that new normative international order that allows us to address our differences and disputes as the civilized world." He goes on, "We must form and improve our institutional order internationally." In other words, he's saying that we must form an organized world order so that we can address these complaints. So it's just about solving world problems. Wikipedia would agree that there's nothing to see here. There's no dark agenda, no conspiracy. These folks have everyone's best interests at heart. They're amazingly benevolent and their experts are incredibly smart. Only conspiracy nuts see anything amiss in this movement to advance human betterment on a global scale. But why the conspiracy theories? The Wikipedia article explains that there is a common theme in conspiracy theories concerning the New World Order. This theme is, and here I will quote the article, that a secretive power elite with a globalist agenda is conspiring to rule the world through an authoritarian one-world government that will replace sovereign nations. So in plain language, they are saying that conspiracy nuts believe that a small group of elite people with a sinister agenda are working to rule the world. But not to worry, only weirdos would believe such a thing. Okay, fine. But listen to this bit of information from something called Article 13A of the World Health Organization's proposed Preparedness and Response Treaty for Pandemics. The World Health Organization, or WHO, is one of those transnational agencies that are thought to be working towards this new world order. The treaty would mandate that a sovereign state like Canada, Egypt, or the United States, quote, recognize the World Health Organization as the authority of public health response during a public health emergency of international concern. Well, let's put that into plain language. In a designated pandemic or other global health crisis, this article in the proposed treaty would require nations to follow World Health Organization's recommendations. Such recommendations would not be mere suggestions, but would have the force of law. And that means any health mandates and restrictions on personal freedom that the WHO recommends in such a crisis would be legally binding. Okay, how do they define health emergency? Well, they don't specifically. It would seem that whenever the WHO itself thinks there's an emergency, they can invoke the treaty. There's no independent body that would make that kind of decision, and no nation that signs on to the treaty could decide not to comply. However, I understand that this Article 13A has sparked such outrage around the world that the WHO has temporarily, and I stress temporarily, deleted it from the proposed treaty. A recent public demonstration in Japan involving tens of thousands of people demanded that their government refuse to sign the treaty, and other nations are experiencing similar outrage from concerned citizens. Why? Because it would allow unelected, unaccountable elites to override national governments and take away personal freedom. In other words, a small group of people would have power to rule over the world whenever they decide that there's an emergency. So let's get this straight. According to Wikipedia, there is no dark agenda sponsored by an elite group of people to gain control over world affairs. And anyone who thinks so is either a dangerous right-wing nut or a crazy religious oddball. But here's the irony. As it goes on, the Wikipedia article does say that there is an agenda sponsored by an elite group of people to gain control over world affairs, but it's not a dark or threatening one. So we can all relax. Only weird people think that there's a plot to take over the world. However, there is a wonderful plan to take control of governments and manage world affairs when there's a crisis. These planners have the best of motives. They see things clearly and should be the ones to decide when such an intervention is necessary. But who should we believe? Wikipedia or the conspiracy theorists? Let's do some independent thinking. Supposedly, this new world order is a conglomeration of like-minded organizations with many of the same people serving in multiple entities. World Health Organization, World Economic Forum, Bilderberg Group, Trilateral Commission, etc. Are they working for a dark agenda? Well, one hint may be in their logos and those of other entities that they influence. Look at the logo of the WEF. Here's the logo of the Trilateral Commission. How about an entity that they certainly have some influence over, like Google Chrome? What is the common motif here? What about the number 666, the number of the Antichrist in Revelation 13? So let's examine the track record of these transnational organizations. How did the WHO handle the COVID crisis back in 2020 and 2021? Many of our politicians have ties with such transnational organizations. And so how are they doing at stopping crime, cleaning up our cities, or promoting the general welfare? How have the experts at the World Economic Forum, or the WEF, managed the economies of nations around the world? Let's take the WEF as an example. The World Economic Forum is thought to be one of the groups working to establish this new world order. The WEF isn't exactly new, though. It was founded by a globalist called Klaus Schwab back in 1971. Its purpose was, quote, improving the state of the world by engaging business, political, academic, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industry agendas. Well, that sounds great. What does all that high-sounding verbiage mean, though? It means that these WEF people are trying to influence governments and industry to achieve some agenda that they have decided will improve the world somehow. But wait a minute. They've had more than 50 years to address the practical problems that people and nations face. How are they doing? Is the world a better place? Are there fewer wars? Has poverty been reduced? And by the way, their founder, who's still around, recently made a speech in which he promised that when their agenda is fully implemented, the people of the world will own nothing, but we will somehow be happy. So just leave it all to the experts at the WEF. They know what they're doing. Give up your freedom, your possessions, and your ability to make your own decisions, and you will be just fine. I think that's called gaslighting. Christians are sometimes accused of being silly because they have faith in God, but apparently it's okay to have faith in people like Mr. Schwab. So is this thing called the New World Order a sign that the end times are upon us? I have to say that I don't know for sure. I don't claim to be a prophet or have any supernatural insight. There are lots of people today who do claim special insight into the end times. And maybe they actually have such insight. But I also know that being sensational often means a large following on the internet. And as much as I want this channel to succeed, my commitment is to be fair and humble enough not to make claims that I can't back up. I will say, though, that the organizations that I've mentioned that are working towards this new world order certainly seem to be moving in the direction of establishing a one-world government. And given their track record, if they're able to achieve their aims, it would bring about something very much like what the Bible predicts. Will they be successful? Again, I don't want to be sensational. There are some today who believe that the New World Order is unstoppable. They say that we're headed for a period of tribulation and suffering in the near future before Jesus returns. But as someone who has taught Western civilization for years on the college level, I know that there have been other times in world history where things seemed like they were working towards the end times. Many Christians in those times were convinced that the end was very near. Yet over and over again, God seems to have granted respite. Some of those dark movements in history never quite got to the point where they could bring on the end times because God's church revived and God's people stood up. Through them, God frustrated the plans of evil people. I would like to believe that we're living in such times. I would like to believe that the plans of evil people in our world today will be frustrated by a great world revival. I hope that God's church will stand up strong, that Christians will awaken, and that multitudes will come to faith in Jesus Christ. Yes, at some time in the future, whether soon or late, evil may triumph before the return of Jesus. But the task before us now is to get serious about things that matter, things beyond our own personal concerns. Some need to do what they have known they should do for a long time, and that's put their faith in Jesus, not in experts or elites. And if that's you, now's the time to do it. Others of us need to stand strong for Jesus. We need to pray and work towards revival. Before evil gets any stronger, we must do all that we can do to work against dark agendas. And meantime, we must leave the timing of the end to God. This is Dr. Michael Bogart with Aspect Ministries. Thanks for hearing me out.